Welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast. I'm Clint Dotson, and today's guest is an Asheville musician, Isaac Hadden.
Well, I heard old Leopard coming from a mile and a half away. I stepped out on the street there, and here's what I had to say. I said, hey now, slow that old thing down. This city ain't your highway, and you're tearing up my town. Now, Leopard, racing from the sun. Got a 502 in the North Bell, he's letting the ponies run.
Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, February 3rd. It is the All Jammed Up podcast presented to you by One World Brewing and Devil's Foot Beverage, and I'm your host, Clint Dotson. And get excited, everybody, because it is Billy motherfucking Strings Week here in Asheville. We have 3 shows for him, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then the Super Bowl Sunday, so it's going to be a great week for us. Today's guest is local Asheville musician Isaac Hadden. It was really cool. We got to sit down with him in studio, in my guest room, and got to sit down with him for like an hour or so. And it was a really fun conversation. He takes his music really seriously. I think last week I got some pretty good feedback on the Brian Roy interview, kind of stepping away from the music and just getting to know him personally. But this week we really do just focus on a lot on the music, and I think that speaks to Isaac's character. He takes himself very seriously, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. So I'm excited for that guy, definitely rooting for him. Keep your eyes peeled for him. He's going to be playing at the Rooster Walk Festival this summer and the Mountain Music Festival this summer. And he's also in a band, the New Dawn Starkestra, that we'll touch on too. So enough from me. Let's get started. Here's your interview with Isaac Hadden.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm.
What is going on, everybody? Today's guest, we have Isaac Hadden, local Asheville musician. How you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming. I'm excited. I just saw you guys play on Friday at Shiloh and Gaines with Smut.
Man, yeah, that was fun. And actually, so Smut, between now and then, has found the official name that we're going to name the band from now on. And so the official name of that band is the New Dawn Starkestra.
New Dawn Starkestra. Okay.
It's pretty out there. It's a nod to Sun Ra, because basically Jeff put me on to this record. It was the Marshall Allen, who was the sax player in the Sun Ra Orchestra, at 100 years old, made his debut solo album, and the album was called New Dawn.
And 100 years old is his first one?
Yeah, his first solo record at 100 years old.
That's crazy.
It's never too late, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you started early, man. How old are you?
I'm 22 now. I started taking guitar lessons when I was 5, but I was kind of a wild kid. It's hard for me to focus at that age, but I had a very patient teacher who sat with me and, you know, kind of snuck in little bits and pieces when I was super young. And then when I was about probably like between 10 and 12, it sort of clicked, like, oh man, I actually want to do this.
And did you grow up here?
I actually grew up in Southwest Virginia, so I spent the first bit of my life in Giles County, which is like kind of on the West Virginia border, and then moved to Blacksburg, Virginia for high school.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
I grew up in Chesapeake, Virginia. So
Oh,
I was
cool.
On the other side of the state.
Nice.
Yeah.
Still Virginia.
Still Virginia boys, yeah. And when did you move here?
I moved here it was probably about 2021 or 22. I came down here to go to college at UNCA, but I've completed that degree, and
I saw you just graduated, right?
Yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels good to be done.
I bet it does.
I got out of there in 3.5 years instead of the full 4, which was kind of nice too, because, you know, I was getting busy toward the end of it.
Yeah, man. It seems like you stayed busy, but before we get into that, I do want to go back to Smut. So
Yeah.
why did you guys change that name? 'Cause it's a crazy name.
Well, man, it was kind of we liked the name, but we kind of realized, like, if we're really gonna if this band's gonna have the potential to play like family friendly festivals and stuff, like a name like that might not help us.
Be the most practical.
Yeah, so we toyed around with a lot of ideas, and eventually I casually put in the group thread, I was like, what about New Dawn? And then I think Rebecca was the one that had the idea of adding the Starkestra, and we were like, man, it kind of has a cool ring to it, so
So let's talk about that dude Jeff for a little bit, because I looked up and saw that he's kind of a legend, right? He's played with some crazy bands.
Man, Jeff has quite the history in the scene. And honestly, this you should ask him directly, because I don't even know the half of it. But I know he kind of got started in the aquarium rescue unit with Colonel Bruce Hampton in the '90s in Atlanta, and I know he was like in the Trey Anastasio band for a while. Leftover Salmon.
I saw he played with Fish and Widespread too for a little bit.
Yeah, probably, man. He's
really cool.
I'm so grateful to be working with him regularly, because he's just one of my absolute favorite musicians and such a sweetheart of a person. It's like, you meet him and it's like, oh, it's no wonder you've got this amazing resume, because who wouldn't want to hang out with this guy?
Yeah, you guys were a really fun band. I mean, the lady Rebecca, she's a really good singer, and then even the bass player. For me, like, I'm not a musician by any means.
Right.
I really enjoy the music, but like sometimes I feel like it's kind of hard for me to like hear the bass.
Yeah.
But like he was really going at it, he was really talented, fun to watch.
Man, yeah, Quinn's a fun guy to listen to.
Cool.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So you said when you were like 10, 12 is kind of when you started realizing that you wanted, I feel like that's young to kind of have an idea of what you want to do. How did that kind of look for you?
Well, man, I just, I'd always enjoyed playing, but I was just I was a little bit of a spaz as a kid, just like, a little ADD probably. Yeah. But I never really focused on it. It was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. But around that age, I started like kind of practicing regularly, and I would sort of notice like, oh wow, like there's actually, I would start to get things down and sort of experience what it was like to get better at the guitar. And I was like, man, this is pretty fun, and I'm still chasing it.
Yeah.
Did you keep chasing it?
Did you have like an inspiration, or like was there like a moment where you like saw somebody play a show on YouTube, or you were at a show and you're like, damn, that's what I want to do?
Well, man, yeah, definitely. I sort of grew up, my parents were like big, neither of them played, but they were big like music supporters. Mm-hmm. So they would take me with them to all kinds of like concerts and festivals and things. Just like around the region. So I saw lots of local bands. They took me to a lot of really great like shows for like touring groups too. Mm-hmm. And I just I always grew up around music, and it was really like my favorite part of life. It's like a lot of my like most fun memories are like at a festival or at a show or like hanging out. So I always loved being around it, and I knew a lot of musicians, and there were a lot of them I kind of like looked up to and was like, wow,
Like who?
Like just a lot of people in the local scene, man, in the region. Like I would just see these people doing this, and I'd be like, man, this is so special. And of course, like there were a lot of people over the years that I've kind of that I've looked up to, but I just remember being young and seeing these local shows and seeing a lot of them were like my parents' friends, just like on stage playing. And I was like, man, this is so cool. So but long short, around the age of 10 or 11 was when I started to kind of just pick it up more regularly and started to kind of get in more of a routine with practicing. And then I would play out like every once in a while. It's like a band would like sort of invite me on stage to just kind of pop up there with them at like Floyd Fest. There's this one video of me playing with this band called the Hack and Saw Boys when I was like real little. I can't remember how old it is. But
on YouTube?
Yeah, it is.
Should we pull it up?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
See if we can get it here.
I think it's called like Hack and Saw Boys Make Isaac's Day or something funny like that.
Hack and Saw Boys Isaac. It's great podcasting for people not watching. Hack and Saw Boys Make Isaac's Day.
Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'll bring that over here. And I'll share this screen.
This video is funny.
So how old were you in this?
Man, this was 2010, so, and I'm 22 now, and it's 2025, so 14 years ago. So I would have been, I think, 8 years old.
Okay. I'm going to share
this
the screen real quick so we can, like, the listeners can see it. All right.
We call him Shorty. Shorty, it's gonna be a fast one. This is Isaac.
You haven't got a haircut since then, have you?
Nope, never.
Let's have somebody up here for that.
Yeah, give it to him. It's a real old, it's a real old video.
It looks like that's a Floyd Fest too?
Yeah, man, this was Floyd Fest, the 9th Floyd Fest.
So was that I'm guessing that was your first like big show in front of a lot of people?
It was the first time that it's not the first time I ended up on a stage at Floyd Fest. This band called the Wild Turkeys, which was kind of like a old time and bluegrass band, would bring me up with them every once in a while. I had like a banjo ukulele that I would play.
If you want to watch the rest of that video, Hackensaw Boys make Isaac's day.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, so a lot of my like performing was just kind of random stuff like that. Just like I'd be kind of hanging out with a guitar and end up just on stage, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess we're doing this now.
Yeah.
I didn't really start like gigging and like playing regularly and making money until I was probably like 15. I feel like was the age that.
I mean, hey, most people don't have their first jobs by 15, so if you're getting money at 15, that's pretty awesome.
And it was a lot of like stuff, like local stuff around like Roanoke and Blacksburg area, but I don't know. I'm thankful that people were willing to invite me into their world at such an early age.
In that video, you're playing an acoustic guitar. The other day, you were playing electric guitar. Do you have a preference to one, or is it kind of?
Man, I mainly play electric these days.
Okay.
When I started out, I was a lot more kind of acoustic stuff because I was playing by myself or with like kind of a smaller group. But I still play acoustic every once in a while. This Friday, I'm playing acoustic. It'll be like me and Billy Cardine doing like a duo set at the music hall.
Okay.
So that'll be like an acoustic thing.
That's this Friday?
This Friday, yep.
Okay. Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
So that'll already happen by the time this is out, but...
That is tomorrow, isn't it? But yeah, I was doing a couple of things like that for like around when the Billy String shows are in Asheville too. Like
you're doing
like
some after shows, pre-shows?
Yeah, like acoustic pre-shows, and then maybe jumping on some.
So this is going to come out next Thursday. So,
okay.
So that'll be before any of those Billy shows. So if you're listening and you're in the area, check out Isaac at some of those shows.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know.
There's no shortage of them.
Man,
so many.
I was saying it's like the closest thing Asheville has to NOLA Jazz Fest is when Billy Strings comes to town, because all the local musicians are working that weekend.
Are you going to any of the Billy shows?
I think I'll be at all 6 nights, or at least most of them.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to all 3 the first night, and I know I have sort of secured a ticket for Valentine's, so me and my girlfriend can go.
Nice.
And I think I might hit a couple of those the next week too.
Yeah, Mountain Grass Unit is one of the after shows, like the 15th, I think.
I'm man,
to see those guys.
I love those guys.
Yeah,
they're real cool.
Yeah, they're good dudes. Where was I just gonna go? And then we started talking about electric or acoustic. So you just graduated from UNCA, you said, right?
Yeah.
So what's you already been making music since you were 15, finished school. I'm guessing the plan is to still make music. What does that kind of look like for you, like, keep this thing going?
Man, well, being finished with school, it frees me up to tour a lot more, so I'm planning to kind of really just hit the road a lot over the next year or so.
Yeah, and you got big stuff planned this year, too.
Man, it should be a fun year.
Yeah, Rooster Walk, Mountain Music Festival. What else you got?
Floyd Fest again.
Okay.
They've been real sweet. I've played, I think, the last at least maybe 4 Floyd Fests.
Okay.
But yeah, we're doing Floyd Fest, Rooster Walk,
Mountain Music,
and then the group with Jeff and Rebecca and Quinn, the Starchestra is doing the Boonerang Festival in Boone.
Okay. When is that?
It's June 21st is the day that we're playing, I think. But I think the festival lasts that whole weekend.
Okay. I hadn't even heard of that one yet. I want to check that one out.
It's cool. It's like the whole town of Boone just kind of turns into a festival ground.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
I haven't been up there. Are they doing okay after Helene and everything?
I played at the Moon Saloon shortly after, because we actually had a show like maybe the 2 weeks after the storm hit. And they still had some recovering to do, but they are definitely, like, the saloon was open for business, and people were there, and people were driving around. So it seemed like they'd returned to some sense of normalcy.
That's good. That's good, man. So, I guess I want to go back again to when you were growing up. I really want to hear about, like, when you were younger, and, like, you just started touring shows, like, or doing gigs and stuff at 15. It's got to be like kind of nerve. I guess if you were doing it for so long, but you're ever like scared or nervous about some of those shows?
Man, really early on, actually, I was for sure. Like my first ever sort of ticketed show was actually opening for Taz.
Oh, okay.
And I remember I was a little nervous for that one because he was like. I mean, you know,
pretty close
people,
to the same age, right?
Yeah, well, but he's got a couple, like, quite a few years on me as far as, like, getting. I mean, he was, like, on stages with.
I saw him when he was, like, 18 at Sweetwater Festival.
Yeah, and he's been on stage with some pretty big names from, like, a really early age. So, and that was, like, kind of, at that time, it was sort of my first, like. Intimidating, kind of? Not even so much, but I was just, like, really wanted it to be as good as it could be, you know? It was my first time really playing with, like, my own bands, too. That was, like, sort of what got my thing started was that show, because...
What show was that? Where was that one at?
It was at 5 Points Music Sanctuary in Roanoke.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyler reached out and was like, hey, we got Taz coming in. Would you want to, like, put a band together and open the show? And I was like, man, heck yeah, let's do it, you know? And that was how it went. So I do remember that one. I was just like really kind of wanting it to be as good as it could. And definitely like there are a few, even to this day, where I feel not so much nervous in the sense of like crippling anxiety, but more just like I sort of channel the nervousness into just drive to practice and be prepared and do it as well as I can. So it's sort of like what I would have maybe experienced earlier as nervousness, I can kind of redirect into just like intentionality.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people that aren't musicians like myself, we just get to see you go on stage and kill for 2 hours, and then we're like, wow, that guy's so gifted. That's awesome for him. So tell us a little bit like about what we don't see. Like you're talking about drive to practice, drive to get better. What does that look like for you, like getting better?
Man, there's a lot actually, and we could probably talk all night about all the ins and outs of it.
We got all day, baby.
But man, like the first one, the most important one to me is just like actually playing the instrument. Like that's why I got into this. That's the thing I really love to do the most. So that's what I feel like I spend the most time on. And even there's never not something to practice. There's always, no matter where you are, even people who've been playing for 60
years,
80 years, there's still something, like if they're still playing, more than likely there's still something that they're working on or exploring or whatever. So I spend a lot of time just doing that, just finding new stuff to working on it, just keeping my chops up between shows is a big thing too. So that's a big part of it. That's like not on stage what I try to spend most of my time on. There's a whole other side of it, which is like sort of the business end, and that's like, not as fun, but equally important.
Now, are you handling that? Are you booking your own shows, or do you have a...
I'm not self-booking. I have an agent, which I'm so thankful for, because I don't miss the days of self-booking at all.
Yeah.
But I do kind of self-manage, so I like decide what shows to play, what shows not to play, who to play with, what the scheduling is going to be like. So it's still like, and there's like the social media element to like promotion. And
I'm telling you, man, starting this podcast, I was like, I'll have to learn how to edit, I'll have to learn how to host, and I'll be good. And now I'm realizing, like, I gotta be on social media, like, uploading reels all the time
Man.
to get people engaged and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know all this was gonna be a part of it.
Yeah, right. And I mean, really, I didn't know what all it entailed when I decided I was going to be a musician for a living. But, it's like everything else, all of the non-musical work I see is just like something I have to do to ensure that the musical work is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll do anything if it means I get to keep playing, especially if I keep getting to make a living at it.
Yeah, when you're practicing and, trying to get better, are you a person that, so say there's like a certain song you want to learn, are you reading the music? Are you just listening to it and then kind of just feeling it out?
I'm more of a figure it out by ear kind of guy. I'm able to read. It's like one of the things they taught us in school. And I can't, like, sometimes for certain types of things, like if I ever get hired for a session, it's like sometimes the song's not recorded yet. You just get a chart on sheet music, and that's that's what you have to go off of.
Yeah.
But in general, the fastest way for me to learn something is just to hear it and work it out.
How long have you been able to do that? Just listen and start going, or was it always like that for you?
It's kind of interesting to. I don't know that I even necessarily can put a timeline on it, because it's something that I think that everyone kind of has the ability to do in a way, but it's just like
The commitment.
Yeah, and just the awareness of like what's actually happening that it took longer to develop. But I started kind of being in a position where I had to listen to songs and learn them a lot when I went to college. That was like what really kind of drove it home for me.
Yeah.
And I was still like learning stuff when I was back in Virginia, but it was like I don't think I was quite as detail oriented as I am now back then.
So you have much more of a process now?
Yeah, and now, like, I'll listen through something, make a chart of it, like, write it out, and then work it out on the instrument. But there's kind of lots of ways to go about it, but a lot of it is just kind of hearing something and figuring it out on the fly.
Okay. So when you were at school at UNCA, I went to school for business, took business.
Nice.
Had papers. That's it,
Right.
For you, now, I know your senior recital was at One Stop, right?
The music hall.
The music hall, okay.
Yeah.
So was that, like, were you doing a lot of written tests, and, like, or was most of your, like, work just making music?
Oh, there was a little bit of both. Like, and UNCA is different than some music schools because, like, a place like Berkeley is what they call a conservatory, and that's, like, basically all music all the time. I think they might have, like, some light, like, liberal arts or, like, gen ed stuff that they have to do, but that's, like, all music all the time. UNCA is mostly music, but they still have, it's like a liberal arts college, so you still have to take some like non-music related classes. So I remember most of them I got done in high school, but I had to take like a humanities class and like a lab science.
Okay.
So that was like where a lot of the testing and papers were. A lot of my work was making music, but then there were some classes, like there was like music business, and that was more kind of on paper, and like music history classes were a little bit more like that. But it was a little bit of both, but definitely a lot more of the assignments involved playing the music rather than just like writing papers and taking tests and stuff.
So outside of music and shredding on the guitar, what do you like to do?
Man, I like to go outside. That's kind of my favorite thing. I try to get in nature as much as I can.
Hiking, fishing, all these
Yeah,
stuff.
totally. I've wanted to get into mountain biking. I don't have a mountain bike, but
yeah, that would be sick.
I've seen people doing it. I'm like, man, I really want to get into that. I love like being in the water too, like either like on a boat or just like there's a lot of great like swimming spots around here that I like to hit.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the fishing thing and the swimming thing, it's something I fished a little. So I just, like I said, I moved up here from Florida, and I was doing a lot of fishing just like at the pier. And I had Alex Bazemore on here, and he was talking about fly fishing at like Mills River.
Yeah,
and stuff like
man.
that. And I really want to get into that, but it just it seems so daunting. Like it's so hard to get into.
Man, there's a guy. He actually plays in a band around here. His name's Doug. He plays in a band called Red Clay Revival, but he is a fly fishing guide.
Okay.
Mountain Fly Outfitters, I think, is his business.
Is it in Hendersonville?
It's in Candler, I think.
Okay, gotcha. Doug.
Yeah.
Red Clay Revival. So I saw. So the other day, you know the band the Red Clay Strays?
Yeah.
So I saw they're playing somewhere pretty soon locally. And there's a smaller venue. Maybe it was One Stop, maybe it was One World, I don't know. But I saw Red Clay Revival on the website, and I was like, no way, and I was thinking Red Clay Strays.
You were thinking Red Clay Strays.
These are playing,
man.
And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh shit, wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to some of those festivals you were talking about. You've played in a lot of them already. Who's your favorite person that's brought you up, or the favorite band that you've played with? I know I saw Andy Frasco follows you, and some really cool guys are already following you on Instagram. So have you played with any of those guys, and do you have a favorite one or a certain memory that sticks out?
Man, I can't pick a favorite because I love them all. But definitely some memories that stick out. I actually met Frasco back in the fall at the Ramble Festival, and that festival was so nice because the hurricane had just hit Asheville, and it was we were all really struggling, but going to that festival, I almost felt like we died and went to heaven for a couple days. It was man, this is so great. It was so nice to just be around people that were just having a good time. But I met him back there, and I was just kind of standing on the stage watching his set, and I didn't really know that I wasn't expecting to sit in, but he was like, hey, come up and play. I grabbed Sean's guitar and just kind of plugged into a random amp, and that was how I kind of actually met Frasco. We'd run into each other a couple times, but I feel like everything moves so fast in this world that until you actually spend time playing with somebody, sometimes you don't really remember.
Yeah. So
that was the first time we ever met and remembered it. So that was fun, man. And I know
did you ever play with Keller Williams?
Yes, at Floyd Fest. The Floyd Fest last year, they had this thing called the Buffalo Mountain Jam, where it's Keller and Leftover Salmon kind of host a thing with a lot of the other artists at the festival. So I was able to be a part of that last year, which was a lot of fun.
Is Keller Williams? He's from Virginia, right?
Yeah, he's from, I think, maybe Fredericksburg, Central
right.
Virginia.
Yeah. I've been on a real kick for him lately. He's somebody I find myself going in and out of listening to his music all the time.
Man, yeah, I've been singing Keller forever, just growing up at the festival.
Really?
It's cool to finally meet him, and that's the way a lot of these experiences are, because a lot of these bands I've grown up watching, and then now I'm playing and get to meet them, and it's just such a treat.
Asking you to come on stage, man, that's awesome.
It's fun, man.
So again, going back to me not being musical, how does that go? When you're at Frasco and you're sitting on the stage watching him play, and he's like, "Hey man, come out here." How do you guys know, hey, I'm just gonna play in this note, join in, or is they? How does that work?
Well, it's another thing. There's a lot of ways to go about it. That particular situation, it was just kind of a wing and a prayer. I mean, I don't even know. There was no planning whatsoever. Just tell me what key it's in and just go. And I sort of had heard the song before. I think we were playing Rather Go Blind, Etta James. But so that was how that went. Just no planning at all. Just kind of show up and wing it. Every once in a while, if it's more of kind of a predicated sit-in thing, sometimes someone will send me a tune. If I'm lucky, I'll get a chart. But more often than not, it's you really just got to lean on your ear.
Yeah.
And the rule of thumb too is if I don't know what's happening, there's always the option to just not play. You know, that's that's the key. It's just stand up there and fit things in where they fit, and then when it opens up, that's where you really can express yourself. Because when you're sitting in with somebody, the last thing you want to do is just doodle all over their song,
So it's he kind of you're just kind of playing the note or the key that you're in, and then he'll just give you a nod, and you kind of just go crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's you know, the official word for it is comping, but that's just kind of like playing rhythm, playing behind the vocal, playing
Okay.
like kind of like a background like rhythmic part, and then soloing is like what a lot of people tend to kind of notice.
Yeah, so when you go into a solo, like, you know, I've watched you the other day, and you're kind of just like in your own zone, you know, and like what's going through your head then, like, because I always can't even like understand how you guys know where to put your fingers, like not even looking. So like, what's going through your head when you're just doing a solo like that?
Man, for me at this point, I'm kind of just like, I'm not so much thinking about like notes and chords and scales as much as I am just thinking about like sounds and sort of like statements and like a vibe I can make. So I'm not so much thinking like, oh, I need to play this E natural on this D minor chord so I can play them. I'm thinking more about like, I just kind of hear something that's familiar in my head and execute it on the instrument. If that makes sense. But there's you know, there's a lot of steps to get there, and that's like, a lot of that happens kind of in the practice room.
Yeah.
Like ideally you kind of get all the thinking done ahead of time, so then when you get on stage it just kind of flows through you. So if, like, you know, to answer the question of like what's going through my head, more often than not, kind of nothing. You know, nothing and everything at the same time.
Okay.
But the real thing I'm paying attention to too is just listening to everyone else on stage. Like, it's because what I'm playing is like entirely dependent on what I'm hearing from everybody else.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So,
But it's a lot like speaking here back and forth. It's like I'm listening to you, processing what you're saying and responding. It's kind of, I think about music a lot in the same way. It's like learning a language.
okay, that's a way easier way for a non-musician like me to understand.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say in so many
Okay.
words. It's like the same as talking, but instead of, you know, the physicality of producing words with the voice, it's just a different way of producing the language.
Gotcha. So take me into like a practice for like your show Friday at Shiloh and Gaines. Now, are you guys just meeting together Thursday and playing both sets through, or is it like, hey, we're gonna do this one, I want you to nail this part? Like, how does that practice kind of look for you guys?
That particular band has actually had very few rehearsals. I think
Really?
we've only gotten together ever like once or twice.
So it's a new band. Okay.
Well, and it's, you know, we've been around since the summer, but just a lot of times rehearsals just don't really happen as much as one
They
might
should,
think.
yeah.
Well, and you know, some bands never need to rehearse, and honestly, that particular group is sort of like that. It's like a lot of stuff just kind of happens organically on stage, and we kind of rock with that. And for my own thing too, that's like really kind of how I operate with it. It's just like you kind of use the tunes as like a building block for something else.
Okay.
And a lot of it is stuff that you can't even really work out beforehand. A lot of it's just like dictated by what everyone's thinking and feeling in the moment and the energy of the room. You know, there are some parts, especially if you're working on like a particularly like difficult song, it's like a rehearsal's pretty important just to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
But when I'm rehearsing with my group or with the Starchestra or anything like that, it's not so much we're like working out parts as much as it is just like making sure we're all able to, basically that we're all on the same page as
okay.
far as like the flow of the song and
Now,
where things go.
Do you play any other instruments?
I do not. I'm not like trying to get gigs on the drums or the bass or
Yeah.
anything, but I do play drums and bass at least, you know, at a okay level. I play
Okay.
a little bit of keyboard too.
Yeah. And do those things, you think, having those skills, you think they make you a better guitar player?
I would say, I at least hope so. That was the goal of learning them.
Maybe that was a dumb question.
No, I think so. Yeah, I think so, because learning the drums, it's like really get like an internal time feel that you can carry out, and it's like if the more that anyone who plays one instrument can understand the other instruments, I think it only benefits what's trying to happen.
Especially probably when you're playing with a band, right? Because like if you kind of know what the guy on the drums is doing, then it's like I can kind of wait to come in and kind of go off what he's doing. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, it's back to the language thing. It's like if you understand the language of drums, I can use the language of guitar to interact better with the language of drums than if I only was able to understand the language of guitar, if that makes sense.
So maybe, here's a way to put it. Music is like English, and then you got drums is like British.
Yeah.
You got like guitar, Deep South, and it's all the same thing, but just different branches of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I had like spent my whole life and never heard a British person talk, I might be like, "What are you saying?" Dude? But so it's just the exposure to like these different sounds.
Now, do you sing too?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the show the other night you probably didn't hear me sing as much, but
no, not too much.
I do a good bit, yeah.
Do you write your own music?
Yep.
What kind of things do you write about?
Man, all kinds of stuff. As far as lyrics go, a lot of it is just sort of like whatever comes to me.
Is the music written first or the lyrics written first, or depends?
In general, I think the music comes first, but sometimes lyrics come, but I'm just kind of writing like whatever idea comes to me or whatever I'm feeling, it's kind of fun to write about other people too.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they won't know it, but it's like, John Prine does that a lot. It's like he'll write a song that's, at least it sounds like it's about somebody else. Maybe it's about him. Maybe it's about something like that. And a lot of times, like, the ideas that come to me are just about, like, what's happening in the world, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, music generally comes first, but then the lyrics are
not too far behind. You do some songwriting. When you do the Isaac Hadden, so like on your Instagram here, Isaac Hadden. I thought I said Hayden in my mind.
No worries.
Isaac Hadden, guys. It's Isaac Hadden. So when you go to like the Mountain Music Festival, it just has your name there.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go on stage and just play by yourself, or are you gonna bring a couple guys up there? Or how's that kind of look?
Well, that's a kind of a new development too, because my groups before the first time. When I kind of started doing like my own thing, a lot of the shows were just billed as my name or Isaac Hadden and Friends, Isaac Hadden Band. It was like a lot of times just like I was so young that a lot of times the promoter would kind of dictate what I was going to say. Then for a while it was the Isaac Hadden Project, then it was the Isaac Hadden Organ Trio, but then we kind of realized that there was like a lot of confusion.
That's IHOP, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion about like what was happening, and we decided just to clear up all the confusion and just kind of condense it down to something that people could remember. We just kind of build the shows with my name. So this like spring and summer, I'm gonna be playing with like a quartet, like drums, bass, guitar, and keys or horns.
Those guys like try out for your band? Like, are is like, hey, I want you. Like, you already heard them and you want them. Like, how does that go?
Man, a lot of times I kind of let it happen naturally. I've never I'm just really grateful that there's people out there that are down to be a part of what I'm trying to do here. Jeff Sipe is on a good number of the gigs, and he's just like become one of my favorite drummers, and we live close by, so I reach out, and he's generally, if he's down, so that's generally how it goes. Like, if I'm putting a group together, it's just people who I like and who I like working with and who's playing I dig, and it's really like, it really, like, my group is not centered around me at all. It's like I'm trying to kind of set up something where everyone's going to interact well, everyone's going to play off each other well, and like the group sound is going to be something special, because that's really what I get off on, is just like playing, like locking in with a group and just feeling the feeling of everyone kind of in the pocket together. It's like nothing I can even explain, but it's like the best feeling in the world. Just
So you've already played with, Frasco, Keller Williams, some really cool guys. Who is someone that you haven't played with that like was like be a dream for you to play with?
oh man, wow. That's a tough one.
Give me your top three.
That's a tough one, man.
It's
I'm
a
trying to
tough one.
think.
I've played with everybody
Oh
already.
no, man. Well, it's just there's so many out there. I don't really get to think about this too often. But I don't know. I'd love to at some point play with Adam Deitch. That dude is very busy.
Who's
and
that?
Drummer for Lettuce.
Okay.
Yeah, that dude's just got a pocket like
Rooster Walk,
nothing
make
I've
it
ever
happen.
heard. Man,
Adam, if you're listening, Isaac wants to play with you.
man. There's a lot of people out there that probably want to play with Deitch, but I'd love to play with him sometime.
So why a drummer, not a guitarist?
Well, that's funny. First, when I thought I was a drummer, I'm kind of a junkie for drummers, though.
Really?
Like really good it's one of the things I really try to work on and really think about when I'm playing is like locking in with a drummer. And
Do you think that comes from playing with someone like Jeff, who's so talented?
I think so,
Yeah.
definitely, because I've been especially in the trio, we had a great list of really fantastic drummers that we got to play with, and that was what really kind of piqued my interest in because the main drummer for that group for a while was this guy named Iaji Hamden, who was like kind of like an LA session guy, but he moved back to North Carolina. And we had Nick Baglio was another one. If you look for him on Instagram, he's got a pretty substantial social media following. Mm-hmm. But man, and Jeff did a lot of the gigs with us. Our buddy Chazaray in Greensboro, who's a fantastic drummer, has done a good handful with us. We've played with a lot of really great drummers, and it sort of just piqued my interest in thinking about how the different drummers feel and how they play, and I've started really listening to the drums, and I also would talk to drummers who'd be like, man, it was great because it almost felt like having another drummer on stage when we were playing together, and that was that kind of is what inspired me to work on it. Mm-hmm. Just hearing that and being that really kind of is what we're here to do. We're here to create a groove and play in time and give people something they can dance to.
Yeah.
So it is something I think about a lot, is just drummers and pocket and groove and so I guess that's why Deitch was my first pick, but man,
what about a guitarist that you want to play with?
Daniel Donato, I think,
Yeah.
would be fun. He just seems like a fun guy to hang out with, and I really love his playing.
Mountain Music Festival, make it happen. You're getting chances this summer.
Man, yeah, we've run across each other a couple times. One that I actually have had the opportunity to play with, and there's more in the future, is Kaiser George from Shadowgrass. Do you know him?
Okay, I know who Shadowgrass is. But
Yeah, well, he's a guitar player for Shadowgrass, and he's just if you don't know, you should check out Kaiser, because he's just wicked fast, wicked clean, and just beautiful lines. He's super inspiring. I mean, guitar players I could name all day.
So a consensus that I've gotten from just doing this podcast and asking these kind of questions, people seem to really, really like Luke Black.
Oh, from Mountain Grass Unit?
Yeah.
Man, that guy's fantastic. Yeah, great guitar player.
Yeah.
I'd love to play with Luke sometime.
Hopefully we can get, all these guys are going to be around soon. We got to get you in there.
Well, man, yeah, that's the thing is we all kind of, I think really if we all had our way, we'd all be working together all the time. It's just geography and financial concerns and all this stuff, kind of the big barriers, but
doesn't that suck, man? I was just talking about that with Brian Roy of Kindle Street Company.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of he told me a story that he was smoking a cigarette on a set break, and this girl came up to him and was like, what was the first big thing you bought when you guys made it? And he was like, what?
What?
He was
Right.
like, what?
What you guys pay?
He was like, I work part-time at a movie theater.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
So like, it is like, that's just, it's just,
Man.
it's just like, and that's like kind of the reason I was like, I wanted to do this is like, there's so many guys that are so talented and just like, people don't know about.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, really just a great place to kind of cultivate that, like, following for people, like, I don't know, I'm just rambling right now, but...
We appreciate it, man. I mean, otherwise, if it weren't for other people, like, inspiring me to get in front of people, I would probably just be sitting playing guitar in my basement by myself,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's cool, man, that even, like, even that you're like, I'm able to do this for a living, but even if I wasn't, I would still be shredding guitar in my basement. Like, that's a cool thing. It's like, you know you're doing it for the love of it.
Man, it's the thing I love. I love this more than anything, man.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest source of joy and purpose in my life.
That's awesome. Especially, like, for me, I'm a little older than you, and, like, I had a similar conversation with the Wolf guys the other day. I mean, they're 17. They're like, this is our thing. This is what we want to do. So, like,
Yeah.
for me, being a little older and, like, still trying to figure out what I want to do, seeing you guys be so young and be like, nah, this is my thing. This gives me purpose. Like, that's really cool to hear, and it makes this more fun, you know? It makes these things more fun.
Nice. Yeah, man. We're here for each other.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. You came here with a Grateful Dead hoodie on. We're at a Jam Band podcast. We gotta talk the Grateful Dead a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
What's like I'm sure Jerry Garcia's got a crazy influence on you. Is there a certain era of the Dead that you love the most, or a certain show that you saw first and were like, oh, damn?
Well, man, interestingly enough, I don't really talk about this a whole lot just because of, you know, the opportunity doesn't present itself very much. But when I was like a young guitar player, one of the first guitarists that piqued my interest was Jerry. And I don't know what it was. I think it was just the kind of like, just the like beautiful like melodicness of what he did, and the fact that it sort of felt like almost a little bit more accessible than a lot of the like really flashy like other like rock guitar players out there.
Like who, like Jimi Hendrix, like stuff like that.
Because I listened to a lot of classic rock before I kind of got into more of the like what I listen to now, and Jerry was the one that just sort of resonated with me. And my parents were Deadheads, so I grew up listening to it all the time, and that's probably part of why it resonated so much. But beyond that, yeah, I just really loved his playing. So there was a good minute there where I just was trying to like learn every note that Jerry ever played, and it kind of set me up for like getting into jazz and getting into like other sorts of jam stuff and getting into like, because I started like American roots music, because I started to kind of look at what Jerry was checking out, and then that just opened up a whole other rabbit hole of music that is kind of more what I listen to now.
Cool. That's awesome. So, like I said, was there a specific era? Like
oh, yeah.
72, 77? And that's kind of, I've asked this question a lot now.
Yeah.
And the answers are usually like the Brent years, 77 or 72.
Yeah, I like the Brent stuff a lot, just because I love Brent, like, as an individual. Yeah. I like 74 a lot, because it had all the tightness of 72, but they were, like, pushing boundaries a little bit. Like, the Blues for Allah era. That's, like, my favorite, I think, because it was, you know, I mean, the band, I feel like we can say it on air, they definitely had their peaks and valleys as far as tightness goes.
As far as drug use goes, tightness.
You know. But, yeah, I really like 74 just because they were really pushing boundaries, and they sounded really tight. Both drummers were there, and I just really love that music that came out of there too. Like, Blues for All is one of my favorite albums. But then I also really like 78, like the Terrapin Station years. That stuff's really great. And I also like the really, really old stuff, like 65, like
when they're just like, just
man,
screaming, having fun. Yeah, I was talking about it to somebody else the other day too, man. I think like everyone always talks about like they like the years where they're like super tight and it sounds really good and like they got the wall sound and everything. But I kind of like it when it's like fuzzy. And
it was just honest, man. It was raw and on. There was nothing.
Raw's the perfect word.
There was nothing in the way of them just they just got right to it, you know. And they also did some really weird stuff in those years that I still, like, I think about just as far as, like, production choices and, like, on stage, like, the choices they'd make. It's like, man, it's some really wild out there stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So other than the Dead, do you have, like, let's say your top 5 bands?
Man, that's a tough one. Right now, what am I listening to? I've been listening to a lot of... I've been kind of on, like, a big, like, funk rhythm guitar kick lately. So I've been trying to listen to, like, Larry Carlton a lot because he's got some really interesting, like...
Now, who's that? What band was he in?
He was all over the place. He did a lot of work with Steely Dan. There's this cool record he did with a singer named Minnie Riperton, and that I really dig that one. I like a lot of his guitar stuff on there. But you know, I've been checking him out a lot, just his whole discography.
Yeah.
I've been listening to Charlie Hunter a lot more, actually, too. And he actually lives right down in Greensboro. He plays, like, hybrid guitar, or at least he did at the beginning of his career. So it was, like, bass and guitar on the same thing. But he's just, like, a groove master. Recently, he actually made a really cool record with Sam Freibush, who's a friend in Greensboro, organ player. Calvin Napper on drums. That dude's awesome. But yeah, I've been checking out a lot of his like earlier stuff, and I really like that. I've actually been checking out a lot of the Sun Ra stuff, which is like, if you don't know, it's kind of like space jazz, like super out there kind of stuff.
Name?
Sun Ra.
S-O-N, S-U-N?
S-U-N.
R-A-H?
Just R-A.
Okay.
Yeah, the Sun Ra Orchestra. Check it out sometime if you want to just listen to like some really weird out there stuff.
Okay, I'll definitely check that one out.
But I've been kind of into that recently. Man, what else? Madison Cunningham, big time. I really love all of her stuff. She's like a singer-songwriter, guitar player, from California. Oh man, I listen to a lot of like kind of just guitar music too. Like I've been checking out like Mark Lettieri's stuff, who's like the guitar player from Snarky Puppy, and like
I appreciate you giving me the band name that time because the names.
Oh yeah, man, yeah, it's there's just so much music out there. It's hard to know all of it. And I've kind of been checking out John McLaughlin, if that one rings a bell. He's kind of like more like a jazz fusion guitar player, but he was like kind of a pick warrior. Like his right hand was just like so fast, and I've been trying to kind of get into that. But
so, sorry if I just cut you off there.
No worries.
So you mentioned that you like Billy Strings, you're going to go to all the shows.
Yeah.
But you're more of an electric guitar. Do you see yourself kind of dabbling in that bluegrass flat picking ever?
I certainly enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, Tony Rice is actually another one that I've been checking out a lot of lately.
I know that Luke Black and Alex Bazemore, they're big on their Tony Rice.
Yeah,
plays,
man. Everyone that really plays bluegrass is always kind of bowing to Tony, it seems. And he's just, I mean, understandably so, because he's just fantastic. But I really do enjoy it. I can't really say it's my wheelhouse. Like, doing like more like kind of like funk and fusion stuff is more where I'd say my skill set is, but I've been putting a lot of work into the grassy stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're still so young, man. You could be a full-on flat picker in 5 years.
Man, that'd be fun. I really love that music, and so short answer is yeah, okay. I do at some point.
Cool. Well, this is probably my last question, and I'll let you kind of sound off on whatever you want. But what are your, like I said, you're still so young, but you've done so much already. What's kind of your like long-term goals? Like 10 years from now, do you want to be like the band that you're in now? Do you want that band to be like touring? What does Isaac Hadden want from 10 years from now?
Man, that's another tough question, but really, like, I definitely I want to continue just writing and recording my own music and collaborating with other people. So I want to, like, just kind of build more of a discography and more like kind of a body of work. And then really just like I'd love to just kind of be, and we're already kind of getting there now, but just be on more like kind of a steady tour schedule, either with my own group or between a few others. Just really just kind of be steadily making a living playing. That's the goal, you know. And
It doesn't really matter who it's with as long as you're playing good music.
yeah, man, as long as I'm playing good music that I like and it feels right, that's mainly where I'd like to see myself. And knock on wood, I'm thankful to sort of be there now. Everything I'm doing is like something I can say I'm passionate about.
That's what matters.
That I enjoy. So I just hope that the trend continues, and I hope that I'm able to just really, you know, make enough of a living at it to kind of have a stable, cool life, you know?
Hey, that's a great answer, man. That's a great
Yeah.
answer. So that's it for me, man. If you want to plug anything, any shows coming up, any festivals, like, go ahead. Now's your chance.
Yeah, I've got all my dates on social media, just Isaac Hadden Music on Facebook and Instagram. And
I'm gonna share your Instagram real quick while you guys.
oh, sweet. Yep. And I've got a website too, IsaacHadden.com. We're doing some pretty major updates on the website, but that's where I'll post, you know, tour dates, merch.
So I just pulled up your Instagram, and I want to ask about one thing before we go.
Yeah.
Best of the Blue Ridge 2022. Tell us about that.
Man, so that's like a poll that they do in Blue Ridge Outdoors magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even know I got nominated for it. They just like I found out through the grapevine. They was like, "Oh, hey, you got nominated for this thing." I was like, "Oh, cool." And somehow I won, and you know it's.
Somehow I won. I'm the great guitarist in Asheville.
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot. There's so many amazing
I was
musicians.
at One World downtown the other day having a beer before your show. We went and got
Oh, cool.
We went and got dinner at Farm Burger, and the kill time between we got a beer at
Yeah,
One
yeah.
World downtown. And I was talking to the bartender.
Was it Jules?
It was. I was talking to
Oh
Jules.
man, I love that guy.
I was talking to Jules about you, and I was like, about the podcast, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm interviewing Isaac next week. And this dude who was like signing his tab out to leave, he was like, Isaac Hadden is the best guitar player in Asheville.
Oh
It's not
man,
close.
that's so sweet of him, man. I don't know, man. I'm just grateful. I'm just thankful to be able to play for the people.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
A humble
for
man,
me.
we love that.
Man, well then there's so many great players out here. It's like there's, you know, I would encourage everybody to check out all the other guitar players in Asheville. You know,
Yeah.
because there and beyond, because there's just there's so much great music out there. But I'm thankful that people are listening to the music I make. You know.
For sure. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun. I know I'm going to keep an eye out for you locally, but I'm hoping to get to the Mountain Music Festival in West Virginia.
Oh,
in
sweet.
June, too. Yeah, there's a lot of really... I'm a big Candle Street guy. I love Daniel Donato. Haven't seen Shadow Garcia. I want to see those guys, so hopefully I can make my way out there, and we can link up there, too.
Yeah, man. I'll see you there. I'll be hanging around. That'll be a fun one.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Isaac. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Isaac. It was a lot of fun. Keep your eyes peeled for him. Like I said, he's going to be doing a lot of fun things this summer. Check his Instagram out. It's in the description for this. Give him a follow. You'll be able to catch him, too, all around Asheville. He's playing all the time. Super cool guy. Excited for him. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. But like I alluded to in the beginning of the show, it's Billy motherfucking Strings Week. 3 shows, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then next week we get 3 more. I only have tickets to next weekend, so if you have an extra ticket you're looking to sell or want to hook somebody up, feel free to reach out to me. I'll gladly take them off your hands. But with Billy Strings coming, we have some really other awesome pre-parties and after-parties coming on too. I was not able to remember it all, so I'm pulling it up on my phone right now. Thursday, February 6th, we have Music Happy Hour with Johnny and Alex from Sons of Stars at One Wood Brewing. After parties, we have Grateful Dub, which is a Grateful Dead reggae cover band at Asheville Music Hall. The Sailor Brothers at One Stop, and Fee Fi Fo Fish at One Wood Brewing West. Again, our friend Alex is in that band. Charlotte Bluegrass All-Stars at One Wood Brewing for a pre-party Friday, February 7th. And Johnny, this is the after parties now, Johnny Molyneux at Asheville Music Hall, Happy Landing at the One Stop, John Maylander's Forecast at Eulogy, Andrew Wakefield and Friends at One Wood Brewing, The Stolen Faces, which is another Grateful Dead cover band at One Wood Brewing West, and Sons of Stars at Third Room, again, Alex Bazemore & Co., hardest working guys in showbiz. Saturday, we have the Fuzzy Rainbows Fest at Asheville Music Hall, Sons of Stars again at Pigsa Brewing Company, Rastafari at One Wood Brewing, and The Stolen Faces at One Wood Brewing West. Those are all pre-parties. After parties for Saturday, we have Arkansas at Asheville Music Hall. That's a band I've been wanting to check out a lot, so catch me there. Air Show at the One Stop, Town Mountain at the Orange Peel, Hoto Mozambique at One Wood Brewing, and Larry Keel at the Third Room. So a lot of good things going on here this week in Asheville. And then again, we have the Super Bowl this weekend, so that's super exciting. I think I'm going to bet on the Eagles, but we'll see if I change my mind throughout the week. But I did want to touch on something a little more serious, I guess, at the end of the episode today. On Saturday, I went to the Mule, which is a venue here in Asheville. That's where I found out about the Devil's Foot guys that sponsor the podcast. And they did a little benefit concert thing for a young man named Solomon. It was Songs for Solomon. Datrian Johnson, the Family Tree, who is a local band. Solomon's dad is actually the drummer of that band. And I don't know exactly what Solomon's disability is, but I know he's got some brain surgeries and he's in a wheelchair. And it just seems like he's kind of got a tough hand. And I got to sit down and talk to his mom for a little bit on Saturday, and she was a really nice woman. She actually gave like a super emotional speech, and then she ended it with "Go Birds." So I think I got about the Birds for that reason. But they have a Venmo, and if you guys have a few extra bucks, man, I think it would be really cool to donate to them and just kind of band together and help them out. I'm sure they would definitely appreciate it. It's going to be in the description here, and on whatever you're consuming this on, it'll be there, and it'll be on my Instagram too. But the Instagram is SarahBenderHope. All one word, just like it sounds, SarahBenderHope. So if you guys can donate $5-10 to that, anything, I think it would be really appreciated. And I'm hoping to get Datrian Johnson on this week, and we can kind of touch that a little bit more and learn a little bit more about that. So enough from me. It's an exciting week, guys. Look out for me too. I have some big things we'll be talking about on Thursday, but I'm going to be trying to do lot podcast this week at Billy String. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll have some information on my Instagram and hopefully on the episode Thursday. But that's all from me, guys. And remember, wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. Have a great week, everybody.
Come along, have a drink with me. We can talk about the world and how the world is turned so slow. Oh, oh. Day that I found cars they drive and planes they fly. I look into the sun and the sky, you're so bright. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know it's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down.